From the start, Ted Price seemed destined for something big.
I remember asking my dad to buy me an Apple IIe. And I said, Dad, if you buy me this, I'm gonna make a video game and make $1 million. And I was 10 at the time.
And convinced two brothers to join his fledgling venture.
The odds were definitely against us.
Yeah, I mean, we were only 3 guys and we had no experience. We didn't know what we were doing.
Some days were tough.
There were times where we really thought we were not gonna be around for another week.
And their name was symbolic.
We were all Insomniacs at that point. We weren't sleeping at all.
An early disappointment almost doomed the young company.
Critics called it the dark horse of that year, or the best game that nobody ever heard of.
But a little dragon would save the day.
They said that the first Spyro, I think, is the number 5 PlayStation game of all time.
Insomniac would shock fans with an unexpected choice.
It was really hard to leave Spyro behind. He's kind of our little baby.
As they move on to create a new universe filled with captivating creatures. This is the remarkable story of Insomniac Games. It all began with a simple request.
I remember asking my dad to buy me an Apple IIe. Back when they had the monochrome monitors. I said, Dad, if you buy me this, I'm gonna make a video game and make $1 million. And I was 10 at the time.
And figuring out what he didn't want to do.
I was controller for my uncle's medical company. I realized that my long-term interests did not lie in the medical field. And I wanted to do something that was a little bit more artistic. I loved games and had always been into computers and into computer games.
And in 1994, with his Princeton degree, his savings, and a dream, he makes the move.
And I thought, hey, why not? It's gotta be easy, right? Making video games, and man, I didn't know how off I was on that. And I was very, very fortunate to run into the Hastings brothers.
He is only 6 degrees of separation from meeting his partner.
My mom was talking to one of her friends
At a party in Virginia.
who happened to have a son at Princeton. Her friend's son was roommates with Al Hastings.
Through them, word got to Ted that I was a programmer looking for a job.
And so I called Al up and talked about what I wanted to do with the company. He was really into it, except that Al is one of the quietest guys I've ever met.
I guess I was thinking, I hope he likes me.
Al probably uttered a few words.
Oh, gosh.
But by the end of the conversation, he had agreed to come out to California.
Boy, I sure don't know much about making games. Of course, neither did he.
Which to me was pretty amazing, because he was taking this huge chance on a guy who had never done a game before.
The odds were definitely against us, so we got lucky, really.
And the lucky streak continues for Alex and his brother.
I was a math and literature double major, but I've been programming since I was 12.
I talked Brian into quitting his real job and coming to make a go of it.
I was working at a pacemaker company, and I had a really good job. My dad definitely didn't want me leaving that.
But Brian has an idea and a mind of his own.
And when we brought Al's brother on board, Brian, then that kind of completed the circle.
And naming the brand new Southern California company will prove to be an obstacle.
There were some great ones. There was Ragnarok, Black Sun Software.
I was just putting random words together, thinking what 2 things go together. I just thought Moon and Turtle, and I thought, well, this is gonna be great. Everyone's gonna love it, and no, nobody loved it.
I wanted to name it The Resistance Incorporated.
And we ended up with Insomniac just on a whim. It was just something that suddenly made sense. We were all Insomniacs at that point. We weren't sleeping at all.
This ambitious trio with a name, but no game, uses a legacy as an influence.
And Doom was the inspiration for our first game, Disruptor. It was a first-person shooter.
And then there were 4.
Once I got done here and got working on the project, I realized that Disruptor wasn't just a Doom clone. That graphically, we were doing some beautiful stuff. Any hesitations I had disappeared very, very quickly.
From the get-go, we didn't have a lot of ideas about what we were going to do, only that it wasn't be a Doom clone and on 3DOs.
The talented troupe sets its sights and future on a doomed game platform.
We'd actually gone to Sony and talked to them a little bit about the PlayStation, but the dev stations at that point were priced way out of our reach.
Well, there was quite a bit of little cult following to it in the developer circle. And 3DO seemed like the first one out there. And
so we have to create this big Doom-like universe. But we didn't have any 3D tools to do that. And so what we did is we made this, we would read everything out of an Excel spreadsheet.
well, Ted and I put together a demo. It took us about a month. Really, we were just showing that, okay, we can put together the nuts and bolts of a game.
So every single polygon, about thousands of polygons here, would have to be entered by Ted into this spreadsheet and converted over.
It wasn't that much to look at, but it was a start. It was a sort of a functional first-person little engine and environment.
And along comes Mark Cerny, a Universal video game executive.
Mark was impressed with the fact that we did this in a month, knowing nothing to start with.
Mission complete.
And the young exec signs the baby company to a development deal.
We were really happy to have a 3-game contract where we knew we could stay in business for another 2-3 years.
And in a twist of fate, it is decided that Insomniac's first game will also be Universal's first title for the PlayStation.
We were able to switch over to the PlayStation fairly easily because Al had already developed such a robust engine on the 3DO.
First of all, it went from about 10 hertz to a solid 30 hertz. So it got 3 times faster. The PlayStation 1 was much, much more powerful than the 3DO.
Disruptor may have been a dark title, but some humor unintentionally works its way into the game.
Think fast, shoot fast, and kick.
Here we were working with Universal Studios, and we're a young technology startup, and what better chance to have video games and movies come together.
The story was supposed to be serious.
Are you ready for your first training mission, Private?
Sir, yes, sir.
Even though the movie sequences we recorded were funny because they were so cheesy.
Your job is simple. Run the gauntlet.
They were horrible.
Get your butt out alive.
Disruptor is released in December 1996 to very high hopes.
Unfortunately, there were a few magazine ads. There weren't any TV ads. We had a little PR where we had some editors come by the office, but that was it. So most of the sales were through word of mouth.
Maybe it's time you tried it out.
It was definitely a critical success. It just wasn't a financial success.
But what really made us happy was that critics called it the dark horse of that year, or the best game that nobody ever heard of.
I think it's sort of become a cult classic at this point. It's well remembered.
Insomniac will eventually say goodbye to first-person shooters and hello to a charismatic baby dragon.